Hello friends, welcome back to Technique. Today we'll be doing the detailed camera review of the new Moto Edge 50 Pro. Now Moto Edge 50 Pro created a huge buzz in the Indian smartphone market in the 30,000 price segment with great features being added. Now you also get a proper triple camera setup on this device. So in this video, we'll be looking at the camera experience of this device and see how good the experience is for the 30,000 price segment. Now Moto Edge 50 Pro comes with a triple camera setup. It's a primary 50 megapixel camera. So let's see how good the camera experience is. So before that, if this is your first time on this channel, do hit the red subscribe button and also hit the bell icon to get notified of all the videos we publish on this channel. So let's first have a look at the hardware offered on this device. Now coming to the primary camera, it's a 50 megapixel f1.4 aperture. It's the widest aperture in this price segment, and it also comes with optical image stabilization, and it also comes with 1x1.3 inch sensor. Now the secondary camera is a 10 megapixel telephoto lens, which is a Samsung sensor. It is capable of 3x optical zoom and 30x hybrid zoom with f2.0 aperture. Now there is also optical image stabilization for the telephoto lens. Now the third camera is once again a proper 13 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and this is f2.2 aperture. Now the front camera is a 50 megapixel f1.9 aperture, once again with a Samsung sensor. Again, the front camera has autofocus. So let's go straight into the camera samples and see how it performs. So let's first have a look at the daylight captures. Now looking at the daylight captures, you can see here there is plenty of details on offer. You can see that the images have come pretty good, but one thing what you notice is the color reproduction, especially the greens, which looks a bit saturated, but sky colors looks pretty much well balanced, and overall quality of the images also looks good. The dynamic range is also done pretty well, but the greens are a bit saturated. You can see that the trees are a bit saturated in colors. Now there is also 2x digital zoom offered, which offers pretty good imaging. Now there is a 3x optical zoom. The details are good, but the colors are not as similar as the primary camera. There is a color shift when you move from the primary to the telephoto lens, but nevertheless the image quality looks good. There is good amount of details, and also the dynamic range looks good. Now otherwise the 50 megapixel shooter is capable of pretty good imaging capabilities, and overall the quality looks good. The sharpness levels are also acceptable in this price segment. So overall we feel Moto has done a pretty good job here in terms of the primary shooter. Now the 13 megapixel ultra wide angle camera can also shoot pretty good images, because this is a proper ultra wide angle camera and the quality looks good. Although the colors are not as similar as the primary camera, but there is a color shift and it looks a bit saturated than the primary shooter. Now moving on to the close-up shots, here you can see that once again the details are good. The colors are a bit richer in nature, but nevertheless the sharpness levels and detailing looks good. Once again you can see that the reds and the greens look slightly saturated, but otherwise the sharpness levels looks very good. Now there is also macro shooter using the ultra wide angle camera with autofocus, which makes pretty good macro shooter, and this is proper macro camera. It's not the 2 megapixel macro you see on other phones, but this is proper macro sensor, and this does a pretty good job in terms of details and sharpness levels. Now moving on to the portraits, you can shoot in 24mm, 35, 50 and 85mm. Surprisingly, you can't shoot in direct 3x, but it is using 85mm, and the portrait quality definitely looks good, but the skin tones are not very natural. It's a bit more reddish in nature or other warmer tones, but overall the colors look slightly richer, but otherwise the portraits definitely looks good. It's probably one of the better cameras from Moto with good portrait, and you can also see that the edge detection looks pretty good. So the 85mm and 50mm portraits looks really good. That's our pick of the lot, and overall the portrait quality looks good. The colors could be slightly better, especially the skin tones. It's a bit warmer tone or rather reddish in nature, but nevertheless it is definitely good from Moto in the portraits department. Even the low light portraits also turn out to be quite good. Now moving on to the low light experience. Now indoor artificial lights, you can see that there is plenty of details and noise levels are kept to minimum, but when it comes to extreme low lights, you can see that the sharpness levels could have been a tad better. The noise levels are kept to minimum, but you can still see noise creeping in, but the sharpness levels needs a bit more fine tuning, especially with OIS available. The sharpness levels could have been better, especially for the 30,000 price segment. Now the overall quality of the night shots looks good. The dynamic range is good, and colors are also nice and wide, but sharpness levels definitely could have been a bit more better. That's the low light experience from the Moto Edge 50 Pro 5G. So next let's move on to the selfies. Now the 50 megapixel selfie camera does a quite good job in terms of selfies. Here you can see that the skin tones are very natural, but again some people do like whitish tones, but personally I like the selfies which have natural skin tones, and this did a pretty good job here. And you can see that even the portrait selfies also turned out to be pretty good. The edge detection is quite good. Now overall the skin tones and the dynamic range of the selfies are impressive. So once again, selfie performance of the 50 megapixel shooter is quite good. Now moving on to the video recording. Now you can record videos in 4K 30 fps. Now what I could see from the 4K 30 fps sample is that the stabilization is not done that impressive, because when you pan you can see that there is some jerking happening, and also there is a kind of autofocus issue, or rather focus hunting issue. Now the same happens with the 1080p 60 fps. The video quality as such looks good, but the stabilization could be a bit more better. The colors are nice and wide. The dynamic range also looks good. The sharpness levels are also quite acceptable. Now the 1080p 30 fps also looks quite good in terms of video footage, but the stabilization could have been a tad better. It's not bad by any means, but there is a possibility of improvement. Now you can also record videos using 4K recording for the primary, the secondary and the third telephoto lens. So all the cameras can do 4K. This is the ultra wide angle camera. Now you can see that we have shot 4K with the telephoto lens, the 10 megapixel telephoto lens with 3x zoom, and here also you can see that the details looks good. The sharpness levels are pretty impressive actually for the telephoto lens. Now you can also shoot macros in 4K using the ultra wide angle camera, and you can see that they are pretty good in terms of quality. The colors are rich and the details and sharpness levels are also good. So this is the 4K recording taken using the selfie camera on the Moto Edge 50 Pro, and this can record videos in 4K resolution as well as 1080p. So you can judge yourself how good the 4K resolution is and the audio output from the video recording. So this is the full HD video recording taken using the Moto Edge 50 Pro. So you can see how good the quality of the video is, and also the audio output from the full HD sample using the selfie camera. So that was a detailed camera review of the Moto Edge 50 Pro. So as a whole, we feel the Moto Edge 50 Pro has a pretty good potential to be a good camera setup. Now the three cameras, the primary, secondary and third cameras, all are pretty much proper camera setup, which you seldom find in the 30,000 price segment. So that way Moto has done a really good job in terms of improving the camera, and the overall experience is also good, and this is probably the best camera from Moto in this price segment till date. So Moto has done a good effort in terms of producing good images, but there are some shortcomings, like the colors are a bit richer, the portraits are a bit warmer, and loaded experience needs a bit more fine tuning in terms of sharpness levels. But otherwise we feel the Moto has done a good job in terms of producing a camera setup which is quite acceptable, and does a good job in terms of the camera experience in this price segment. So we don't have much to complain. As a whole, Moto Edge 50 Pro won't disappoint users, although if you are more into natural color, probably you might have a slight disappointment in terms of color reproduction, but on the whole we feel Moto has done a quite good job. So that was a detailed camera review of the Moto Edge 50 Pro 5G. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. Do hit that like button and also hit the subscribe button for more videos. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in our next video. Have a great day.